This is In My Lounge Room, and I'm your host, Skye.
And I'm your other host, Damo. And on this week's episode, we revisit ghosting.
Ooh. Hey, Damo.
Hey, Skye, how you doing?
Oh, just hanging out with COVID.
Yeah, I was going to say that was kind of a loaded question because you're not doing great, are you?
Oh, look, I've had a fun couple of days, we started off with a close contact ISO that moved quickly to a child with COVID, and then I got it.
Yeah, okay. So what's the timeline at this point?
So my youngest is now technically free, and he's done his 7 days, but I am free Tuesday morning and my oldest is free Tuesday night. So
Right. So, but with the youngest now gone through his 7 days from when he contracted COVID, yet he's still living with two people who contracted COVID within that time, does that mean he still has to isolate with the rest of you, or is he allowed to go out in the world?
He's free. He went out with my mum today for a couple of hours. He was saying to my mum that ISO's awful, and he was there eating a toasted sandwich, and they went to the tool shop, and life's good.
Okay, so the whole house doesn't have to isolate if you've had it. Is that how it works?
Correct.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So he's,
all right, awesome.
he's
So
as of Tuesday, we're basically got 12 weeks sort of freedom, like no close contact rules, nothing.
Okay, cool. Is that because that's like the reinfection time? Like your antibodies are high enough to prevent reinfection? So. I don't really...
I guess that's how it works. But and also, a lot of people don't understand that once you've had COVID, you can't retest for a couple of weeks, I think 12 weeks, because it's still going to be in your system, which means a lot of people were retesting and going, oh, I can't go out because it's been 13 days and I'm still positive, but you don't test again. Basically, you do your 7 days.
Okay.
If you're symptom free, you're good to go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But how are you actually feeling?
Pretty good. So day one, sore throat. I was like, here it comes. And then I tested. And then I got cold symptoms, and then the fevers were intense. I'm talking I felt like my body was radiating heat. It was crazy. And then body aches and all that.
Did you test your temperature? See how high was your fever?
I didn't actually. I'm one of those weirdos that doesn't have a thermometer. I just knew I had a fever. I could tell. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, you could tell. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, well, you're alive.
I'm alive. So now I've just got this really awesome voice going on and a bit of sort of cold symptoms. But that's it.
You sound okay. I mean, you sent me a voice message, 2-3 days ago?
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, I think we should can we record the podcast? I sound a bit rough. And I was like, oh dear, you do. But
Yeah. I think I go through phases though, I haven't talked a lot other than when I'm going to the boys, clean up the room, stuff like that. So, we'll see how I go 30 minutes in.
I love the you did a reel, I think it was, where there was you just staring blankly at the camera, and there's just all this meow, 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 meow. And it's after a week in ISO, this is the kids.
I've given up. I started off so well. I was all okay, every hour we'll go out and we'll play, and now I'm it's been 3 hours. They've been on Fortnite. I should probably make them play. I'm just past
how many
it.
laps of the backyard have you done getting your 12,000 steps in?
1,000. So many. And my dog just follows me.
She'd be loving it.
She's like, this is awesome.
The dog would love having everyone's home. This is great.
She's follows me. I go to the toilet, she follows me. I'm like, Ruby, stop it. Yeah, that's where we're at.
Oh, God. Well, I'm glad that you're surviving and hopefully on the mend, and the boys are coming through it. And it's an experience now, but better now than it would have been 2 years ago when people were dropping dead.
I probably would be dead. So yes, yay to Omicron instead of the original virus. So
yeah, that's it.
Okay, enough about me. Let's just ask, how are you? How are you?
I'm great. Yeah. I'm
You don't have COVID.
Well, I mean, it's I don't have COVID, so it's all good. I've got, as you know, fully stocked home gym now, so I've been working out. And
So cool.
I'm child free for Easter, which is a little bit of a, happy, bad, sad kind of, because I will be able to see my daughter tomorrow, which will be Easter, but it's not really a big deal. It's just another weekend.
Yeah.
For her, it's just like she likes having an Easter egg hunt, so I've got some chocolate eggs to hide, and that's about it.
I think as they get older, it's probably less exciting. Like the boys still believe I think, in like the Easter bunny. So I've hidden all the eggs, and they think it's amazing.
Oh, no, she doesn't believe in the Easter bunny in any way whatsoever. She just likes the hunting of the eggs.
Yeah.
Like last year, she was like, "Okay, we've got to have an Easter egg hunt. You got to hide the eggs, and then I'll get up in the morning and I'll do the hunt. And then after I've found them all, I'll hide them again, and you can find them." And I'm like, I really don't feel like hunting eggs on a Sunday morning.
That
but
is hilarious.
And we don't just do like chocolate eggs. We have little plastic eggs.
Yeah, cool.
That you just put little things in, like little gifts. And last year I wrote little things on notes, like it was a voucher for a special day where Dad has to give you one thing you ask for. Like it's rather than just here, have a bunch of chocolate. Because you can have chocolate anytime you want, really. So I mean, the Easter eggs are kind of like that special kind of chocolate that it only tastes like Easter eggs.
Right.
But yeah, so last year we had one was like watch a movie, her choice, or Dad has to say yes to one request, like, or hugs on demand.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I might steal that if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it. It was also because last year she couldn't eat chocolate because she was going through this kind of, we didn't know if she had allergies or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
So she was kind of like, she'd eat chocolate and she'd get headaches and get sick. So she went right off chocolate.
Oh,
so
wow.
she was hating it. But she also, when she was little, she gave up sweets after the first time she went to the dentist, and the dentist told her about how sugar eats your teeth. And so she was like, right, that's it. No sugar. So 5 years old, she gave up sugar.
Wow. Yeah, that never happened with my boys.
Refused to have lollies, and would ask me like if I bought anything, because she knows about the nutritional content on the thing. She'd be like, "Oh, how much sugar's in that, Dad?" So if it's got more than 15 grams, that's a lot of sugar. I'm like, woohoo! Okay.
That's hilarious. Although now she likes lollies, like she eats them. I've seen her eat them.
Oh no, she's into it now. But she's also nearly 11, so she's like, her vices are changing.
Yeah.
Wait until she's 16, 17.
Oh,
but anyway, I mean, so you've got COVID. We're doing this remotely.
We are, yes.
Yeah.
Kids
so
are
this
asleep.
is the first for us.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's all good, but it's working.
I didn't cry when we set it up, so that's a win. It was a close call.
It was pretty funny though, because like when we set you up on that laptop last week, in your backyard, social distancing.
Yes, right. Before we had COVID.
It all worked.
It did.
It all worked.
Yes.
And then when you log in today, I call you and it's like silence from your end. Like, oh no. But it's all good. We came good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, let's do this. What are we talking about?
So, well, like the first 9 episodes of this podcast were a solo venture by yourself.
They were.
So, I mean, and if anyone who hasn't listened to the old episodes, the name of the podcast comes from, it's in my lounge room, in our lounge room, because that's what you did. Yeah,
I was literally sitting on my couch and I was like, I'm just going to do this. And that's how it started, because I like to talk. And then how you joined is because every time I do a podcast, you would send me like a million voice messages in response to what I'd said. And, and so I'd get like all these and I'd be like, if you just waited 20 more seconds, I would have said that, or
Yeah, I know, because I do it like I'd be driving to the gym, or I'd be doing somewhere, driving to work or catching the bus, and I'd be listening, and then as you would say something, I'd be like, 20, my 2 cents worth. And then I'd wait and I'd be like, oh yeah, she covered that. Or I'd wait till the end of the episode and then just tell you what I thought about it, whether or not it was, agreeing or disagreeing with you, just giving feedback.
Oh no, I loved it. It was great. Yeah.
So I mean, that's where it brings us to where we are now, is where we can kind of have a conversation and bounce these things off each other. So I suppose we should explain that's what we're doing this week, is we're going back, and we'll do this a few times moving forwards, and discussing topics that you did by yourself in a more kind of current format
Yeah.
kind of way.
And I think a couple of them, like I would say, like the ones that focus on, like, for example, my eating disorders and things like that, I'd say we're just going to, I think we just leave that alone. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's not,
Yeah. I mean, it's just not a fun subject anyway. But definitely anything related to dating and things like that, yes, I'm glad we're revisiting them. So, okay. Do we have a definition for ghosting?
Certainly, I've got that right in front of me.
Excellent.
So ghosting, also known as simmering or icing, I haven't heard that, is a colloquial term, which describes the practice of ending all communication and contact with another person without any apparent warning or justification, and subsequently ignoring any attempts to reach out or communication made by said person.
Okay.
Kind of covers it.
Yeah. Okay, question for you. Have you ever been ghosted? Been ghosted or ghosted?
I've had plenty of situations where I've had people just stop talking. Actually, just this week, I realised there's a friend of mine who I have known for a couple of years has suddenly unfriended me on social media and removed me from Snapchat. And I'm not sure why he did that. We weren't talking all the time. We'd maybe communicate once a week, once every couple of weeks, just a, hey, how you doing? Have a quick conversation. But then I went to message him and it says add friend. I'm like, oh.
Whoa.
Okay then.
Any reason or just that's it? Just cleaning up their friend list?
Maybe. He's just gotten over me. I'm not sure. But it's, that's not, is that ghosting? He's a mate. He just, obviously, I don't know why. Maybe we weren't talking enough for his life.
Maybe. I mean, people are quite precious about that, don't you think? Yeah.
Some people like to make sure that you're communicating often, and otherwise they feel like they're being ignored. He's obviously just gone, no, I'm cutting people out of my life or whatever, Okay. So I have no idea. Nothing went bad. It's just that, I mean, it was one of those, we talk when we talk.
Yeah, I've got
not every day.
Yeah, I mean, I've got friends like who live overseas or over east, and I was just messaging my friend who lives in Scotland. She was like one of my best friends before she went away, and we probably message each other every few months, and it's just like and we don't care.
No, I got mates that I haven't spoken to in like a year. And they're not going to unfriend me or delete me from their social media or block my communication.
I mean, I don't know who would do that, Damo.
Yeah, well, it's a bit different when someone has a bit of a hissy fit and does it. But, I don't know. It's more about...
Who would do that? I'm not sure. Just so we're clear, that was me. I'm very dramatic. Is that right?
Yeah, it happens, but, we deal with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just looking... I've got a Wikipedia page where we got that definition from, saying the term originated in the early 2000s, typically referring to dating and romantic relationships.
Yes,
so
I would agree with that.
I suppose that, and that's more kind of what we're talking about. In the following decade, media reported a rise in ghosting, which has been attributed to the increasing use of social media and online dating apps. Okay. The term has also expanded to refer to similar practices among friends, family members, employers, and businesses. So there you go. I just thought I'd mention that because it is primarily a dating and relationship thing. But as I was saying, people will just do it.
Okay.
So how about some examples?
Okay. So I've got so many examples. Okay. So let's just ask one question. In my opinion, ghosting is not when you've been messaging a couple of times and you just stop messaging someone. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree. I think it's more to do with when you've invested time with someone and you may have what you deem to be a connection. It may be one-sided. And then suddenly that person just disappears. And it's not just about them not messaging you, because I've had people who've been conversations and then I'll message them after a week or so, and they go, oh, I thought you ghosted me. And I'm like, no.
That's so dramatic.
We just have had a gap
in
the conversation. If I'd ghosted you, you would be blocked.
Right, exactly.
So that I don't have to receive your communication, because that's the thing. It's the ignoring of the communication. If that person had messaged me in that week, I would have responded.
Exactly.
But I messaged them first after a week, and they're like, oh, you're there, are you?
Oh, so dramatic. People are funny, hey? And I don't think people have been like this, like if ghosting wasn't around. Like with friendships, like when it was just only being able to call someone, there wouldn't have been this whole like, oh my gosh, I haven't heard from you on the phone in like 3 weeks. I thought we weren't friends anymore. It was just like, that's life. So, yeah.
But I think we touched on it kind of, we were talking about maybe the rules of dating, and you were talking about the communication factor after a date, like who messages when and how long should you go, and like you mentioned how some people have the opinion of like you have to take turns.
Yes. A lot of people think that. It's crazy. Yeah.
Like how so like if you messaged me last, like say last night we were talking and you messaged me at the end of the night.
Yes.
And then the next day I don't message you. You're waiting around for me to message you because I messaged you messaged me last. And if I don't message you, you're going to say I ghosted you.
Yeah.
Well, really, you're not, but hypothetically, you know what I mean?
No, I know, yes.
That's an opinion people have.
I know, and I think it's ridiculous. Like, in the end, if you're having a conversation with someone in real life, like, it's not like you're going, my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. Doesn't, it's not how it works.
No. And that's a good point, is to, like, you relate all these things to real life. And if we look at, like, the situation where, like, social media and online dating, it makes things protracted. But at the same time, it compresses things because, you know, you can move
quite
fast,
quickly, yeah.
You know. But at the same time, it does protract conversations, is what I mean. Not the progression of said conversation, but it protracts that conversation in the sense that you have to wait for responses.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you just meet someone in a bar, you can just feed off each other and then, I mean, if you meet someone in a bar, you're having a conversation and then they excuse themselves to go to the toilet and then never come back, have they ghosted you or have they just decided that they don't want to talk? I mean, do you get all hissy about that?
No, you just go, oh, well, you're lost. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Oh, maybe, yes, that's exactly what you do. Like, that's never happened to me, but yes, I'm assuming that's what would happen.
So why do you think people, when that happens, because I've heard people say, oh, I was talking to this guy or I was talking to this girl and then they ghosted me and I'm like, how long were you talking to them for? And they're like, oh, just yesterday.
Yes.
I'm like, so one day of conversation and then they just change their mind. How is that any different to someone in a bar just walking away and saying, well, you know, just giving up on the conversation?
So remember that guy I was telling you about that I was messaging and he ended up like having a pipe shaped like a breast and it all got a bit weird.
Can you refresh my memory, please, for the sake of the listeners?
So I matched with him and then he and I were messaging and and then don't let me cough.
Sorry, I'm just like, pipe shaped like a breast. Like, was it just a round thing? Did it have a mouthpiece? I mean, did you suck on the nipple? Where did you put the tobacco? I mean, how did this work?
Yeah, so anyway, he said to me, I don't know how he got... Don't let me cough.
Sorry, go on.
Okay,
pipe shaped like a boob.
Yeah,
yep.
So he mentioned that he liked...
It's a good name for a band, Boob Pipe.
Go.
Sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, it's fine. So I don't even know how I got to the subject, but he mentioned that he liked smoking a pipe. Now, immediately I went, ooh, like, I don't like any form of tobacco smoking. Like, I'm healthy. Like, I just don't go there. Like, it's hard enough that my sister smokes. Anyway, I was like, okay. And then he goes, it's sort of like almost like a fetish. And I was like, okay, explain more. And
the pipe's a fetish,
the pipe.
like smoking's a fetish?
Right?
Okay, yeah.
No, the pipe. And then he said...
Oh, okay. Not the act of like inhaling smoke.
No.
I think some people get pleasure from that.
No, I think he was into like cigars and pipes and all that. He was into that. So anyway, at this point I was like, oh God, I'm just already losing interest, but okay. And then he shows me what he'd modelled his pipe on. And it's literally like an FHM woman with like fake breasts.
Oh, so this was a homemade pipe?
No, so it gets better. I'm like, what? So I said to him, why are you sending me this photo of a very fake-breasted woman? And he's like, oh, now I'll show you my pipe, and it's literally the shape of a fake breast with like a nipple and everything, and he's like sucking out of this pipe, and you can just see this breast. And I was like, hang on, so you made this? He's like, no, I sent it off to Turkey, and this guy made this pipe shaped like this perfect breast.
Whoa.
Right? And at that point I went, I'm done.
Okay. Can I can I ask how this relates to ghosting?
Because I went, sorry for my gross cough laugh. I went, I can't message him anymore. This is just weird. And I think I'd messaged you going, is this weird? And you're like, a little bit.
Kinda.
And,
so you just cut it off.
I just went, I'm done. I just stopped messaging him. And then he kept messaging me going, hello, are you there? Are you there? And I was just like, I'm just ignoring you. I'm ignoring you. And it took a week for him to stop messaging me. So I ghosted him.
By definition, you did ghost him.
100%.
But I think you had a valid reason to.
I think so.
Because what do you do? What's the alternative? Saying to him, I'm really sorry, but your creepy boob fetish. There's nothing wrong with boob fetish.
Boobs,
sorry.
Go for it. If
Go for your life.
fine.
Boobs are great. All shapes and sizes. You can be into whatever types of boobs you like.
Yeah.
But the fact that he wanted to smoke through one.
I just found it really weird.
Super creepy. Yeah, it's sometimes it is it's hard to have a conversation with someone. So yeah, you do, and I hate to say it, so don't take this the wrong way. Sometimes we just take the easy way out.
Yeah, and I did.
And is there anything wrong with that?
No, I mean, we'd only been messaging a couple of days, and I think at that moment with the breast pipe thing, I was like, I'm done. I'm just done.
Okay. So let's talk about because that in itself, that's a soft kind of self-preservation type of ghosting, right? And then we've spoken about that first day kind of conversations not going anywhere. That's not ghosting. That's just conversations not going anywhere.
Bored.
I'm sure this has happened to you on dating apps where it's, hey, hi, how you doing? It's a lovely day. What have you been up to? Work.
Oh, so
cool.
many times.
Got any plans for the weekend, Going out.
Yes.
All right, this is just useless. And then you just unmatch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not ghosting.
No, not at all. And that happens all the time.
And I've seen people call that ghosting.
What?
In an online group. It's on in Facebook groups and stuff saying, oh, you know what? Because it used to happen in the singles thing. Oh, why do people ghost me? I got ghosted again. And then people would ask questions and like, you didn't get ghosted.
Yeah.
The conversation was just useless and they gave up.
Exactly.
Because they're talking to lots of people.
And
once again, relate it to real life. If you're in a bar and you're talking to one person, they're boring, go and find someone else to talk to.
Exactly, yeah. And that's the thing. And that's the thing with dating apps I always found. It was always half the time it was like having a conversation with myself. And then sometimes I'd call people out and I'd be like, do you want to ask me something about myself? And they'd be like, oh. But then after that, the conversation would return to boring. And yes, I'd unmatch them. So I don't think that's ghosting. I think that's just...
It's not.
Moving on.
Yeah, I think we need to make that distinction because that's... Oh, there it is. We need to make that distinction.
COVID.
That it just because you stop talking to someone, you don't have to say... well, I don't feel like this conversation's going anywhere and I'm going to end it. You can just end it. It's fine.
Yes.
And if some people get upset about that, that's a them problem.
Agreed. Yes.
So you've previously talked about the 5-date man.
Yeah, okay. We're going to do that one? This is the best ghosting story ever.
That to me is this is the most, apart from if if you've been dating someone for a year and then suddenly they just stop communicating, yet you could see they're online, they're not dead, you're linked to them through social media. Unless they block you, you know, you can see their online status and stuff. This was 5 dates. You did say you'd been sleeping with the guy, you'd gone on dates with him. Over what kind of period of time? Okay.
I mean, probably, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. But,
okay.
So, I'd say a date a week, and towards the end, it was probably,
What about communication? So, texting?
Yeah. messaging
regularly.
Yeah, nearly every day. Like, and then a
Okay.
couple of like
Was there
video
phone
calls.
calls?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Was there good nights and good mornings?
Yes, there was all of
Have
that.
you gotten to that point?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if you get to the stage where someone's good nighting and good morning you, that's a pretty high level conversation, high level communication.
Well,
sorry.
they're thinking about you in some form, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
yes.
right.
Yeah.
So I think that's the important thing to note here is that's what we were talking earlier at the beginning of the conversation, is that's that level of what's the connection?
Yes. Yeah.
That's that level of connection. If you've reached a level of connection, either mutually or one-sided, interpreted or perceived connection, that's what makes it really hard. Can you tell your story?
The whole story. So I matched with this guy, and then we started messaging, and then we did. So the first thing we did was, before we met in real life.
In real person.
Shut up.
It's another band name.
Oh, there you go.
In real person.
Just
like some
throwing them out.
2002 emo band.
Oh, that was like my time when I was really into like punk emo boys too.
I'm in person. Yeah, okay, sorry.
Anyway,
Carry on. I've got a guitar over there. I can grab
I met in real. Anyway, so we did like a video call, and that went really well. And then we met, and we went out for a couple of drinks. Anyway.
Okay, sorry. When you matched with them on a dating app?
Yeah, we probably messaged for a few days. I don't know, like 5 days. Yep. And then did a video call.
Right. And then when you met, what was the circumstance?
We caught up for drinks. Like,
okay.
He lived in Vic Park, and so we caught up there. Yeah.
And you clearly hit it off.
Yes, except the whole time when I met him that first time, I was like, far out, you're very familiar. How do I know you? Why do I know you? And then I went home, and as I was driving home, I ended with a kiss. It all ended well. It was all nice, right?
Yeah.
And then as I'm driving...
was this the ex-husband's friend?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, where I went, God, he seems very familiar. And then it was almost like this light went on. I went, I know you. I've known you since I was 22. So he was like my ex-husband's childhood friend. They'd grown up. When my ex-husband had been with his first wife, they'd all sort of drifted, and he came back, started hanging out. We partied a lot. He and his girlfriend, and then my ex-husband and I, it's that first year or so we were together, and then life. So I didn't see him again for like, how long ago? 18 years. Right?
Okay, that was going to be my question. What was the gap time?
No, 17 years or something. Yeah, a long time. Then I said to him, I messaged him that night, the next morning, going, I've just realised who you are. And he's like, yeah, I've realised who you are too. And I'm like, okay, is that weird? He's like, is that weird for you? I'm like, I don't think so. And then it was fine. And we just continued on. But the next time we caught up, we just discussed it quickly. And I said, why didn't you say something? He goes, I didn't realise until you sort of said something, and that's right, I got a friend request or suggestion, and it was him. I was like, that's weird, like, and then it all just, yeah.
And were there mutual friends?
Yeah, like from ages ago, but yeah, they were mutual friends.
So the Facebook algorithm had detected that you had a connection. You'd had conversations through Messenger, yeah, or even if it was your phone, so the Facebook algorithm has put two and two together and gone, hey, you guys have interacted with each other. You know the same people, even if they weren't actual Facebook friends.
Yeah.
Here, you should add this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, so then it was fine, and we just continued on, and then I think we talked about our exes once, and then we just moved on. Then we had a second date, and that was all fine. Then we had a third date. We went out to dinner. Anyway, we had 4 dates all up. Right?
Yeah.
And then...
And I mean, was it escalating?
5 days. Yeah, obviously it was escalating. So then...
Like in an emotional sense? And
yeah,
like, you felt like...
Yes, I thought there was a connection. We got on really well. Like I was going to Perth. So here's where I'm like, and then the final time we were meant to catch up before he ghosted me, he was like... it's my turn to come to Mandurah. And I was like, okay, great. So I said, well, Saturday, he goes, why don't we do something during the day on a Saturday? And I'm like, okay, well, the boys finished playing footy at like lunchtime, and then they go to their dad's, and then I'm free for the weekend. He's like, okay, let's catch up. Then I'll come down for lunch, and I'll stay over, and we'll just hang out. And I was like, okay, great. Anyway, so I messaged him the night before, the Friday. I'm like, hey, just checking because I'm just planning my weekend. Are you still keen? He's like, absolutely still keen. I'll see you tomorrow. And I was like, okay, great. And then I messaged him at like 11, just as my son's game was about to start. I went, hey, game should be over by 1, and I'll see you like anytime after. He's like, yep, great. Right? Then, nothing.
So what time of the day was that? The last conversation?
Like 11 a.m. in the morning when I went to the game of footy, and he was
so
all like,
you'd expected... Yeah. Okay. And so did you messaged him after footy as per...
No, I didn't message him after footy. I just, because I thought, well, I was like, oh my God, I've already messaged him like to confirm last night. I messaged him to say come anytime after 1. He was like, yes. And then so I was like, well, I'm expecting him to see, and I messaged him my address, and he did a thumbs up, I think. And then then I was like, oh, 1 o'clock, 1:30, I was ready. And then 2 o'clock, nothing. And then 3, it got to 3, and I was like, I'm messaging going, hi, just checking everything's okay because I thought you'd be here by now. Nothing. Right? So then I messaged him at like 6 going, okay, well, I'm hoping you're alive, but if not, I'm assuming you've now ghosted me, and I wish you nothing but luck. And then I left it that, and I didn't block him at first. I was like, you know what, maybe something's happened. Maybe he'll message me the next 24 hours. Nothing.
But how are you communicating? What, on Messenger?
No, text message. Like,
okay, so you couldn't see if he had his online status.
No, which is really annoying. No, so, and we'd never. Yeah. But I think we've still been on Bumble. Like I could still see him, like being on Bumble. So he hadn't removed his profile or anything. No, that's right. It was text message because he's old school. Not really that old school, but he's pretty similar age to you, which is young.
Yeah.
So
very. 27.
Exactly. Yeah, so he's 5 years older than me because that's right, he's same age as my ex. So anyway, so all of this. Oh, no, I need to tell you something I haven't said. So I can't even remember. It was either 5 or 6 dates, but it was the final date before we caught up. We decided, I don't know why, because I never do this, but because we'd known each other for so long, he had boys, I had boys, we ended up like catching up, and the boys played basketball, and we just caught up that way. And it was really easy and chilled, and there was like, he has got 4 boys, I have 2, so it was 6 boys, and they played, and we just sort of like, and he's right near the river, and it was really cruisy day, right? And then he said, oh, to the boys, next time you come over, you guys can have this. I think it was some sort of food, or we'll do takeaway or something. See what I mean? Like all of this.
Yeah.
And then
it was all going to a positive.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't have had any idea that it was going to stop.
And then like I remember my mum and sister going, wow, this is great. Like this is finally like someone is actually like, this seems to be positive. And I was like, yes. And then nothing. It's weird, hey? That's like the best ghosting ever.
It's extreme. And like you said, the only reason you can probably think of is that he died.
He's definitely dead, yeah.
Or he got kidnapped. Kidnapped.
Defied.
Kidnapper defied. That's a new word. He was kidnapped.
He's in someone's basement, yeah?
Yeah,
definitely in someone's.
So look, that makes me kind of want to look into more about the reasons why people ghost, and I've again got the the definition here, and it says here that the most common cause of ghosting in a personal relationship is to avoid emotional discomfort in a relationship. A person ghosting typically has little acknowledgement. Okay, I'm going to start that line again.
Start again.
A person ghosting typically has little acknowledgement of how it will make the other person feel. Ghosting is associated with negative mental health effects on the person on the receiving end, and has been described by some mental health professionals as a passive-aggressive form of emotional abuse or cruelty. Do you think it's purposeful emotional abuse, or it just that's a side effect of their lack of ability to confront emotional
All
discomfort.
right, so if I explain the background of this guy who I've known since I was 22. So he was in the footy team. He was a true alpha male. He married the pretty blonde girl and then they separated. So everything in his life, he was always like, yeah, it's... Do I say his name? We'll call him something else. We'll call him Simon. Yeah. Oh, I don't even care. He's probably dead. Yeah, it's Steve. Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
But
sorry.
you know what I mean? It was always like, yeah, he's like, and women would surround him. They, like, I was once dancing with him on the dance floor, like, when I was, like, 22, and, like, women would come up to him and be like, oh, my God, you're so good looking. Oh, my God. And I was like, this is so weird. And this always happens. So he's that true alpha male. So the question is, did he make a mistake with me and then realize that I'm not good enough for an alpha male? But I am. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, was he dating other people the whole, like, did he have the same level of quote unquote relationship with someone else and just chose them?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
People do that.
Yeah.
I mean, just continuing on that vein, I mean, I'm just reading this Wikipedia page. I mean, Wikipedia is, people put their own stuff on there, so it could be here or there, but it's still a good source of information. So in personal relationships, people primarily ghost in relationships as a way of avoiding emotional discomfort they're having in a relationship, like I said, and are generally not thinking of how it will make the other person feel. A survey from BuzzFeed indicated that 81% of people who ghosted did so because they weren't into the person they ghosted. 64% said the person they ghosted did something they disliked, and 25% stated they were angry with the person.
Weird. So I don't know. Like, I don't think I did anything weird, wrong, strange. Obviously, I just think he was obviously dating other people, and instead of just being upfront, what annoyed me about this situation was I let the kids meet him, and it was only because I'd known him previously and I trusted him. Otherwise, I never would have done that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So do you think that then he falls into that first category of that's just the weren't into the person that they ghosted?
I guess so.
So whereby he was possibly just leading you to believe that he was into you, but he was probably doing that to someone else, or he met someone else. Because I'm trying to I don't want to paint him out to be too much of an asshole, but he clearly is because he does this.
No one.
Thing. But the scenario that springs to my mind is people date multiple people or they keep their minds open. Like in popular, once again, reading this, ghosting appears to be more common these days, becoming more common. Various explanations have suggested, but in social media is often blamed, as are dating apps, polarizing politics and the relative anonymity and isolation in modern-day dating and hookup culture, which makes it easier to sever contact with few social repercussions. In addition, the more commonplace behaviour becomes, the more individuals can become desensitized to it. So maybe it's just his MO.
Maybe it is, yeah. Yeah. Or he's dead.
Yeah. I mean, we're going with that one, but it's it's kind of... It's a disassociation from their emotions.
Yeah.
You know, like it's...
I mean, but when I describe his personality and his background, full alpha male, footy boy, all of it, you know what I mean? It makes sense in a way. Like, I can see that he was like, yeah, not into her. I'm not going to be a nice guy and be like, look, I'm not into you. Just goodbye. And I can see that.
I'm really loving what I'm reading here. I mean, according to psychologist Kelsey M. Latimer, PhD, people who ghost in relationships are more likely to have personality traits and behaviours that are self-centered, avoidant and manipulative.
There we go.
However, ghosting could also be a sign of self-isolation seen in people with depression, suicidal tendencies, or are relapsing with an addiction. There is limited research directly on the effect of ghosting on the person on the receiving end. However, studies have indicated that ghosting is considered the most hurtful way to end a relationship in comparison to other methods such as direct confrontation.
Interesting.
It has been shown to cause feelings of ostracism, exclusion, and rejection. Additionally, the lack of social cues, along with the ambiguity of ghosting, can cause a form of emotional dysregulation in which a person feels out of control. Some mental health professionals consider ghosting to be a passive-aggressive form of emotional abuse, a type of silent treatment or stonewalling behaviour, and emotional cruelty, which we touched on before. So what do you think of that? The avoidant, self-centered, manipulative. You were going to say something, Willie. Yeah.
Oh, no. Well, that sort of makes sense from, like, if I look at who the type of person he was when I knew him as, like, a guy in his 20s. Yeah, I can see that he would do that.
Yeah.
But as the receiver of that, it's awful. It took me a couple of months to recover from it because it was like I thought it was heading towards a relationship, and then it was like I was just thrown off the edge of a cliff and like, there's your emotions, you don't need them. Because I was obviously, because we'd been on so many dates and I'd let the boys meet him and we'd chat, and it just felt like it was progressing to that relationship stage. And then to do that,
Okay, because, I mean, it continues on here. In his article in defense of ghosting, Alexander Abad Santos states, the thing that undermines these diatribes against ghosting is that we know what happened with their ghost. It just didn't work out, and sometimes we just can't accept it. He continues, at the heart of it, ghosting is as clear as any other form of rejection. The reason we complain about it is because we wanted a different outcome, which is totally understandable.
So, and I get that. Like, I'm fine. Like, and it's happened to me before where people have been like, I'm just not feeling it. Like, it's been nice knowing you.
Yeah. What if they don't say that?
They say nothing? What do you mean?
Yeah.
If they just say...
Well, they just ghost you because they're not feeling it.
But
do we as victims of ghosting then turn it into something bigger than it is?
Maybe. Look, I don't know. I feel like if you've been on at least 2 dates with someone, you should at least just say, not feeling it, thanks, goodbye. I feel like...
I mean, it continues... Yeah, sorry.
I just feel like ghosting it's just cruel, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll continue on from that because what that then says is, however, this argument does not account for the inherent ambiguity in ghosting. The person being ghosted does not know whether they are being rejected or something they or somebody else did, whether the person doing it is ashamed or does not know how to break up or is scared of hurting the other person's feelings. Also, the ghost may simply not want to date the victim anymore, or may have started dating someone else while keeping the ghostee as a reserve option in case the relation does not work out with said other date, as well as they can be facing serious problems in their lives. It may become impossible to tell which it is, making it stressful and painful.
Yeah. I mean, look, it could have been any of those things. I suppose if it's more than 1 or 2 dates, to me there's you put effort into it on either side, and just a text message saying, hey, been fun, I don't want to continue this. Is that so?
Because I think that shouldn't be that hard.
No.
I mean, but I think the important part of all of this definitions is it's about the level of connection and being a relationship. It's not just casual contacts. It's not just someone you've been chatting with. You can't get all upset about someone ghosting you just who you've had a casual... It's more about that person you've connected with doing this. And that's why I wanted you to tell that story about 5 Date Man.
Yeah.
Is because of the level of connection that developed. That is ghosting. It's not just someone chatting. I mean, I'm just got something else. I'm going to keep reading this because it's really interesting. A 2018 survey determined that women, regardless of generation, were much more likely to ghost than men.
Really? I am not a ghoster, other than obviously Pipe Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been ghosted, but I also don't. I don't know. I'm pretty secure with myself, and like when someone doesn't want to talk to me anymore, I just kind of go, yeah, cool.
So
that's
I mean,
all good.
like,
there's obviously a reason, but
well, even if you look at like us when we first started like messaging and like getting to know each other as friends, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, and I was really
but you said that
exactly. That's what I mean. I was just like, no, and then that was it. So, which I tend to do.
Yeah, but you also explained that that's because we had a mutual friend who was interested in me, and you were like, didn't want to cut their grass.
Okay, true. Yeah, okay. But at least I was nice and did that.
Yeah. Do you think, though, just that line, women more likely to ghost than men, do you think that's more about the emotional maturity, emotional intelligence of men versus women, and maybe men feel like they're being ghosted more than women do. Maybe women, the reason that they aren't statistically noted as being victims of ghosting as much as men are is because women don't feel ghosted in the same way that men do, because men are a little bit more emotionally
maybe. And maybe guys, because I find maybe the guys see that when they've been messaging someone and hardly responding and the girl goes, I'm giving up with you, they probably see that as ghosting, whereas a girl just sees it as, I'm bored shitless, I'm unmatching you.
Yeah, and talking to friends like Catalina, for example, she got herself banned from Tinder this week.
How? Oh my gosh, go
Who
Catalina.
knows? I would think she hasn't done anything inappropriate. I would think in conversation with her that the men who have spoken to her incredibly terribly and inappropriately, that she has turned around and just snapped back at and done big brain conversation on them.
Yeah.
They've reported her because they felt bad, because they've had their little feelings hurt by a woman who was smarter than them.
Oh,
I mean, how dare she?
How dare she?
But yeah, I hate to say this, but men, I've seen memes like, it's got after a woman breaks up versus after a man breaks up, and like a woman will bounce back after a certain period of time, whereas a man like 7 years later will be like living in a dark hole going, why did she leave me? I mean, that's not a hard and fast rule.
But also,
you know what I mean?
like, look at, like, if you, I mean, this is not dating, it's probably more like, but if, look at retirement villages and things like that, and when a man's wife dies, he's quick to find a new partner, because he just cannot be. Whereas a woman, if her husband dies, she's like, woo, freedom! And then she's, getting
and
on
also,
life.
how many times do you see, like, men have to have things formed for them, like the men's sheds and the groups. They have to have places to go. They have to have bowling clubs. They have to think. Women will find their own social groups. Women will go out shopping together and do things. They'll create these things. Men have to have something to do. They have to have a club to go to. They have to have there has to be an instigator in a men's in a group of men, or at least one man in the group who's like, right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, because otherwise men will sit around and go, oh, I don't catch up with my friends much. Do you reach out to your friends? No, you don't.
Exactly.
Women do that a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, we're very good at that. Yes, true.
There's also just one other thing here. The next subheading in here is in employment.
Ooh.
Have you considered that?
Right.
So ghosting in employment often refers to a person who interviews for a job and is led to believe there is a chance of getting the job. Then no acknowledgement of the position being filled is ever conveyed to the interviewee. The term has also been used in reference to people accepting job offers and cutting off contact with the potential employer, as well as employees leaving their jobs without any notice.
Oh, I don't think I've ever done anything like that. However, I just want to point out, I have ghosted friends, and I'll tell you why. So when I was married, my ex-husband didn't like some of my friends, and so he'd make that very clear that, they weren't good for you for that reason or that reason. And so I just move away and just stop replying to the point where I ghosted them. And I realized I ghosted a lot of friends because he didn't like them. I'd say I lost like almost 10 friends over like 14 years. That's a lot of friends.
Yeah. I mean, but I think also like, because I was saying early on about the big gaps in conversations. Like I've got mates that, like I can think of a couple off the top of my head. I will still call them mates. They're still friends. I haven't spoken to them in 2 years.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that I will never speak to them again.
No, whereas these were like friends who I was seeing all the time. Like one of them, like for example, she and I had babies at the same time. We had like our second babies at the same time. We got on well. We saw each other. Then one time he said to me, "Oh, I just don't really like her. I don't think she's a good influence. She was an amazing artist. She was wonderful." And I went, okay then. And then I just sort of stopped talking to her. Bang, gone.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I messaged her like about a year after I left him, and I went, hey, and by this time she'd moved back to New South Wales, and I went, I just want to let you know, I've realised now that I got pushed away from a lot of friends because of my ex-husband, and I'm sorry because I thought you were amazing. And she's like, thank you for messaging me. I really appreciate that because it was a very weird experience for me. So yeah, I've ghosted friends. Yeah.
Do you think people accidentally ghost people?
Accidentally. I mean, maybe if they're busy, like your life gets busy. Is that what you mean? Like, like my life is crazy. And sometimes, unfortunately, my mum and my sister understand that my life is crazy. And sometimes I'll just forget to message them for days. Thank goodness that they love me. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, it's not always, it's, things happen, and that's what happened with like this guy that has just
I can't
unfriended
believe he's
me.
Unfriended you. Harsh.
So summing up, then ghosting comes in many forms.
Yes.
It's, but it's not. It's sometimes perceived as ghosting when it's not ghosting.
That's true.
It's
I mean, I look at one. So sorry to interrupt. So one time I went on a date with a guy. It was a good date. We'd been messaging for a while, and then he said, "Let's do this again." I was like, "Okay." And then I messaged him the next day going, "Hey, it was really good. Looking forward to seeing you again." Nothing, right? For a few days. So I messaged him and I went, "Hey, I'm assuming you don't want to catch up again. Just in the future, just a quick don't want to catch up again message makes life a lot easier." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I just wasn't feeling it. Sorry." And then obviously that was it. But I was like, how easy would it have been to do that 2 days ago?
Yep, and it would have made less of an emotional impact.
Exactly.
And it doesn't. Yeah, and that goes back to that main reason why people ghost is because they're unable to deal with the emotional discomfort of breaking up with someone,
right?
Or
not wanting to see them again.
Yeah. It's hard to. It's like, it's like taking a toy from a puppy.
Yeah.
The puppy looks at you like, "Oh my God, you've broken my heart."
Right.
You don't want to see that puppy dog eyes. You don't want to see that. You don't want to tell a child they can't have the ice cream, but you have to.
Sometimes you just have to be the adult.
You have to. Yeah.
I know.
But look, I want to read this email that we got a few weeks ago.
Yes.
But we haven't haven't put it on the show yet.
Okay.
Right, so I'm going to read it. It's a little lengthy one, but this is actually from a colleague of mine who works on the other side of the country. We've only ever spoken to each other through Teams. And we met once a couple of weeks ago. So she started listening to the show. So I'm just going to read this. So she goes, "Hi, Skye and Damo. Just started listening to you. Absolute gold." Well, she's obviously been listening for a few weeks now because, as I said, this was about 3 weeks ago. "I listened to your love bombing episode this morning and I had to share. Damo knows I'm a sharer. Can't shut me up." Yeah, she's a bit like you and I.
Best type of people.
She's good. Quick backstory. I was raised in a very strict religious family, married at 18 to someone from the church. He turned out to be your classic narcissist. Made me feel like I was worthless, basically there for the sole purpose of taking care of his every need. I stayed with him for nearly 17 years because I'd been raised that you did as your husband told you and that you didn't get divorced. Pretty strict. With the support of some very dear friends, I realized I could leave and start a new life. Around this time, I got back in contact with an old school friend through Facebook. We'll call him LB. And this is where the love bombing began. I've just realized that LB stands for love bomber.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It started off just general chit chat. Turned out he was living in Australia now too, but in a different state to me. She's from New Zealand. Right. Within a few days, he told me that he had a massive crush on me at school, and that he told one of his friends he was going to marry me when we were 13 and 14, when we were at school together. Mm-hmm. At this point, we were messaging pretty much constantly. My ex was being an ass, so LB was being super supportive, sliding in there where the love bombing starts, doesn't it? Sending me lovely songs to listen to, giving me all the attention and support I'd never had. It's
that's
the
what
songs. They do.
When they start sending songs, that's love bombing, don't you think?
I don't know.
Oh, no, hang on.
I send people songs.
No, that's different.
But I write them. Jeez. Around the time my ex started stalking me, And my boss was very concerned for my safety. I put very in there. That doesn't written there. Isn't it funny how our brains do that? I've inserted that.
Yeah.
Was concerned for my safety, so suggested I go away for a couple of weeks. LB says, I've got a spare room. Come stay with me. So silly me, I jumped on a plane and flew across the country to stay with him. I remember sitting on that. So she was emotionally vulnerable. She was in a bad place, and he's just taken advantage of it. I remember sitting on a plane thinking, you're an idiot. He could be a serial killer for all you know. He could be. When I got there, the love bombing ramped up. That night, he took me to the beach to watch the sunset, something he knew I loved. While we were there, he said, I lost you once.
Oh.
I'm not going to lose you again.
Oh.
Marry me.
Oh, my God.
She said, I can just picture Damo cringing at this point. Yeah.
Whoa. And did she marry him?
I was an idiot and fell for it. I packed up my life, quit my job, and moved across the country to be with him. A decision that turned out to be emotionally, mentally, and financially destructive for me. I look back now and I can't believe how stupid and gullible I was. Can I just say that people say that, like they go, oh, I was stupid, I was gullible. No, you weren't. You were the victim of a manipulative person.
Yeah. And they're very good at manipulating. Yeah.
Yeah. He identified, and maybe he didn't mean to do this because it's it's possibly a mental health, some sort of disorder that he has, right? In that he was preying on your level of insecurity and invulnerability. Like Superman.
The other one? Yeah.
Level of insecurity and vulnerability at the time to manipulate you.
So I know you're still telling this story, but just, you know what, a 5-date guy, once I sort of stopped seeing him, I probably 6 weeks later started seeing The American. Now, on Per Singles, I'd mentioned 5-date guy and how I was feeling shitty and that I was probably going to give up dating apps and rah-rah and I was over. So he already knew that I was in a vulnerable sort of situation and was feeling quite low. And then bang, he love bombed me and knew that I was needing that.
It's the rebound man. Come in there and grab women on the rebound.
And he had an accent.
Yep. Well, that's always going to get you.
Continue.
I actually felt ashamed for a long time Sorry.
It made me cough.
I actually felt ashamed for a long time for allowing myself to be so taken in. There were so many red flags, but I kept pushing them aside because he made me feel so special, something I'd never experienced before. Not your fault. I'm happy to say I now have a wonderful, supportive and very genuine partner who helps me build my self-worth instead of tearing it down. Unfortunately, because of what I experienced with LB, it has taken me a long time to trust that he is actually all he appears to be. Anyway, that's my very long story. I hope it helps others to avoid being taken in by the love bomber. Remember the old saying, if it seems too good to be true, it usually is. Cheers, no longer gullible.
Cool.
Yeah, it's great. I haven't met her partner. Obviously, I live on the other side of the country, but he sounds like a wonderful dude. And I'm like, we're friends on social media, and he seems like a great guy. But yeah, I really take issue with people blaming themselves for becoming victims of people.
But I think it's easy to do. Like, I think everyone does.
Yeah. It's not your fault. And then I also take issue with people who say, oh, you're just playing the victim. No, you are. They are a victim.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone doesn't play the victim. No. They are victims.
Unless they're in a play or a movie about a victim, they're not playing one. So
no, and I suppose that is a real thing that happens. Yeah. People are like, oh God, nothing good happens to me. All I do is meet terrible people, and I lose things, and and I watched a Darren Brown thing where it's it was about luck and saying how we create our own luck, and he invented this. You know who Darren Brown is? Yes. He's a mentalist, ex-mentalist, and he exposes psychics and stuff. And it was he made this object to be a lucky thing and convinced people that it was luck, but it was more about your own perceptions in luck. You put your hand up when I was talking about people blaming, like playing the victim and saying how terrible life is. You're not claiming that for yourself, are
No,
you?
I don't. But sometimes I feel like, when you have that string of like one thing after another, and you're like, oh my God, like I'm just at that point. Like my car is a good example. When my car went and this
but they're real things.
Yeah, I know. But then you feel like all you do is whinge. So yeah.
No, but that's different. I think that that's reality. Is like something. Sometimes shit things happen consecutively. It's not like you've like created a false, belief that everything's against you, that the universe is, like the universe doesn't want me to succeed.
Yeah, no,
shut up.
Yeah, no, I definitely never say that.
You don't do that.
Far out.
No.
Can life just like maybe like throw me like $1 million?
Yeah, we all have our bad streaks,
Yeah.
and some of us have like,
$1 million
bad decades.
Yeah.
But
I feel like
at the end of the day,
yeah, eventually.
no,
gets
at the end
better.
of the day, like it might not, but it's not. It's
Don't say that.
it's
I've got COVID.
if it's real, then yeah, cool, complain, but don't just like look for things to complain about.
That's true.
Anyway, we're getting that's a whole nother thing. So I think that's kind of covers.
I think
everything,
it does.
Yeah?
I think. I mean, I want to hear from others though what they think ghosting is. Whether they agree with our definitions of like the difference between like ghosting, or like when you've been seeing someone versus like a message here and there, and any ghosting stories.
I will also say that our opinions and definitions are supported by Wikipedia, and a couple of psychologists that are named in those Wikipedia articles.
So basically, are we experts then? Is that what we're saying?
So we're experts then, because we read a Wikipedia. We read a Wikipedia article, so therefore we know everything there is to know. So thank you.
We know it all.
Yeah, so I agree. I would love to hear other people's stories on this. So how would people do that?
Well, there's always the wonderful world of Instagram, which is in my lounge room on Instagram.
Or send us an email.
Yeah, which is skyeanddamo@gmail.com.
Absolutely. And of course, just track us down and send us direct messages if you like. If you're or know us, you're a personal friend of either of us, sure, let us know. But yeah, happy to hear, and hopefully, people can learn from this and realize that if you are ghosting people, that it's probably not the best thing to do.
It's not. It really isn't. It's an awful feeling for the person who's being ghosted. Definitely.
Yes.
I can speak from experience.
Yeah, and then you just look like a dick.
Yeah. You do. I'm still convinced he's dead or he's in someone's basement.
I hope so. I mean, did I say that? Okay.
Cool. Oh, so what are we going to do? Are we talking about what we're doing next week then? Because if that would be cool to get some stories of people's experiences. Are we going to revisit catfishing?
Maybe. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
That's a decision.
Look,
now, I've made it.
Excellent. So let's do that next week. Let's revisit catfishing. Let's continue on this theme and go back. So yeah, so send us stories of catfishing.
Yeah,
there's send us any stories.
Yeah, we love stories.
Anything you want to talk about. It doesn't have to be about dating and relationships.
No.
You can just tell us about your garden. I don't know. Maybe not.
I mean, if it's about like cooking and food, then Damo will be super happy.
Yeah.
And if it's about fitness, we'll both be happy.
Yeah.
And if it's...
if you're looking for a coach, I know a good one. And you can find her at skydance_PT on Instagram.
There you go.
If you like to look at pretty pictures of food, you can always look at my Instagram, which is _Damo. The has 2 E's. So yeah.
There we go. Look at us go.
Let's self-promote.
Plug.
Anyway.
Okay. So
that's it for the day. So
awesome. Great. Well, good to chat via the wonderful world of online.
Yes, the interwebs are helping us today. So
Thank goodness, because no one wants COVID.
I don't.
No. I didn't either.
Well, yeah. It sounds terrible, but obviously I sympathise. With you. But
Thank you.
Yeah, it's only how many more days? 3 more days.
3 more. Yeah, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. 3 more days. Yes.
Are you just going to go out and do all the things?
Actually, you know what I booked on Thursday? I booked a facial. I don't know if I have.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
get a massage, get a facial, go out and like touch people.
I'm gonna touch everyone. And we're talking on it. The first like person I talk to, like when I like walk outside, I'm like, oh my god, a human! Like even with you talking, I was like, so excited not to talk because all I really talk to is my mum. Like she's FaceTimed me like nearly every day, and that's the only adult I've spoken to really.
And how terrible is it that you got COVID and your boys in the first week of school holidays and into Easter?
Right. I knew it would happen though. Didn't I say it? I feel like I said it. I said I just know that the boys are not going to end up with COVID. I wanted it to be the next week when it was like they were with their dad. I feel like I deserved that. It was almost like I was taking
but like I said to you last week, if they had got COVID when they were with him, he would not have been able to cope with a week at home with them. No
Let's be honest.
way.
Because it's been like 2 weeks straight almost with the boys. No, more I think. The boys night. And of that, it's 2 weeks of COVID and then plus some normal time I've had with them. So yeah.
Well, in the last however many years it is since you separated.
Almost 5 years.
Yeah, how many times has he had to spend 14 days straight with kids locked in a house?
Never. Yeah.
Never. How many? Just on that, how many of us have done that at all? Whether you've got a partner or not, that's hardcore.
Yeah, it's super hardcore.
Yeah, I don't envy anyone who's had to be in full lockdown with children. Anyway, we digress. That's the end. Thank you very much. Okay. See you next week.
See ya. Bye. I'm not laughing. I'm not gonna laugh. Just cough.
Then I take it, honey, I don't know who you are. And if I don't know who you are, well, should I take it? Shouldn't really matter to me. And if there was another way out, then I'll take it, honey, you mean nothing to me. Take it, I can take me out. If there was another way out, then I'll take it, honey, I don't know who you are. But if I do not know who you are, why should I take it? Shouldn't really matter to me. If there was another way out, then I'll take it, honey, you mean nothing to me. You won't play me, I can never be the one.
Thank you for listening to In My Lounge Room. Intro music written and performed by Damien McKay. This week's outro song was performed by Damo's band 12 Inch Shifter. Music by Damien McKay and Chris Butcher. Lyrics by Damien McKay.